Par is a pretty interesting concept when you think about it. Golf doesn't have a universally recognized perfect game equivalent to something like bowling at 300. Instead, you get this reasonable per-hole benchmark to shoot for that you can be proud of hitting, even if you could have technically done better. The novelty golf of Par for the Dungeon delivers on some breezy puzzling thanks to the application of that very concept. You've got worlds broken down into courses broken down into holes. Each of those holes will have one or two pretty explicit right answers, but you've got a little wiggle room if all you care about is par. By bundling its challenges into courses, it allows you to solve them imperfectly as long as you're willing to make up those strokes on a later hole. The result is a leisurely puzzler with a bubbly aesthetic and intuitive charm. You probably didn't need much in the way of narrative incentive to play mini-golf, but just in case, the bogeys have stolen your dog. They keep stealing him actually, and to continue getting him back, you'll need to average a par across a variety of the game's themed courses. The actual putting itself is pretty simple. You've got a visual arrow that helps indicate where your ball protagonist is going to go after you hit him, and the holes themselves have this really generous magnetizing effect that'll suck you in if you're even remotely close. It's a feature combination that would render a conventional mini-golf game superfluous, but in Par for the Dungeon, it's a refocus on the real difficulty, enemies and hole strategy. The bogey's presence in the level is the catch. The hole is obstructed until you defeat them all, necessitating bouncing into them or striking them with a hole-specific weapon. They start pretty easy, usually as motionless obstacles on the path you were going to follow regardless, but they eventually escalate with different properties and defenses that call for more refined strategies. It's a macro-oriented approach to putting, one that ensures your failures will typically be because you approached a hole from the wrong angle, rather than just flubbing the execution. You even get a free per-hole mulligan if you need a quick retry. Importantly, that's the only per-hole resource. There's currency scattered across the green that sticks with you for each type of the typically 3 holes within a given course that can be spent on consumable powers, like bombs or sword strikes. Usage of these powers and saving your currency for the right time can significantly change the outcome of a course because they don't count towards your stroke total. The more you do wacky action stuff instead of conventional golf, the better. It's an enjoyable little system, though regrettably its power-ups are very restrictive in their distribution. It's completely arbitrary which powers you get to use and when. Sometimes the level will let you spend your currency on a sword, and sometimes it'll be a grappling hook. Sometimes nothing at all. Obviously the puzzle design necessitates certain limitations, but it ends up both feeling a little stifling, and in contrast of the For the Dungeon framing of the title. It's hard not to feel like the backpack prominent on the model, and in the key art that our little dude is lugging around everywhere, doesn't seem to be taken advantage of all that much. There are a few small control quirks too. Normally it's a pleasantly simple click and drag interface you'd expect from a title dual releasing on mobile and PC, but lack of any control edits whatsoever means you're beholden to a right click that moves the camera and can accidentally move your ball if you're not careful. You also can't pan the camera while you're lining up a shot, so some of the larger holes will demand an awkward putt or two. Outside of those fringe cases, Par for the Dungeon has a joyous tactile quality to it. The putts themselves have your ball revving up with potential energy, arms at his side ready to charge. Enemies die with quaint little poofs, and there's tiny world theme appropriate dioramas going on outside the course boundaries that make the game comfortably twee. Go from bright cheery level to bright cheery level, save your dog, and get yourself into the hole at par. Do it for under par if you want to get some cosmetics and maybe even some secret levels too. It's lighthearted if inessential fun that comfortably offers an afternoon or two of simple putt-based puzzling. Once you've got a few holes under your belt, it'll never really surprise you. That modest scope does prevent the game from being a memorable hole-in-one, but that doesn't stop it from being a casual and confident par.